Hi, my name is Wayne Martin. I live in Palo Alto, which is in California, which is in the Silicon Valley. I have made a small number of videos so far based on my experiences with my Sony ebook reader, which I am quite enthusiastic about. I have owned it for about 6 months now and have integrated it into my workflow sufficiently well that I just wanted to tell folks about it whenever I could, sort of like an evangelist. A couple of people have shown, well, actually more than a couple, but a number of people have shown a certain concern about not being able to curl up in bed with a good book if these kinds of readers were to displace paper books in a great way. And I have done everything I could to allay that fear, and this video and the other videos that I'll be making are an attempt to pass the word along that these things are quite nice, and people really shouldn't worry about that sort of thing. I got to thinking about other kinds of personal technology that we have in this country, and changes in personal technology over the last 100 years or so, and it dawned to me that I had some cameras around the house that might be an interesting example of the transition of technology. This is a Kodak Brownie camera. It's actually black. I don't know quite why they called it a Brownie. It was introduced in 1900. It's made of cardboard. It was intended to be a very low-cost device. It cost $1 when it was originally introduced. It had roll film, and the camera in that form factor lasted well into the 1950s, actually. Sometime in 1924, 35 millimeter film was developed, and 35 millimeter cameras were developed, and in 1934-35, Kodak invented what are called daylight canister or daylight loading canisters for 35 millimeter cameras, and that led to innovation a few years later when the Argus company of Ann Arbor, Michigan released this Argus 2 series camera. This particular version, let's see, this is very close to this is a 2AB, which was developed or manufactured close to 1950, but the original 2A was very close to what this looked like. It sold for about $29. This particular model or device that I have in my hands was near the end of the manufacturing line, probably sold or probably manufactured around 1950. It was my father's camera. He had it as long as I can remember, so he must have bought it around 1950. This was my SLR, a single lens reflex. It's an Aside Pentax. I purchased it when I was in the Army in 1971. It cost about $125 at the time. These cameras were sold through the Army Post Exchange system and were heavily discounted, so they probably cost about $225 on the retail market here in the U.S. This was a step up from my dad's camera because it had a photometer built into it, which set the f-stops and the shutter speeds automatically. I took an awful lot of good pictures with it over the years. In the last 10 years or so, we've seen digital cameras come along. My digital camera is currently busy, so I can't show you a picture of it. It's a Samsung. This is the back of my audio recorder. My Samsung is about half this size, as most digital cameras are these days. My Samsung cost about $170, and it produces what are called internet-ready JPEGs and video and audio. All of that change from this original, rather tedious box camera to my Samsung, or for that matter, the digital camera era that we're in, has taken about 100 years. Up until 1950, there wasn't a lot of change, but after 1950, when the transistor was developed, in the early 50s anyway, people began to see all sorts of things they could do with transistors, and they eventually married them with optics in cameras. And we have the magical little digital cameras that I'm being photographed today with today, and which will shortly upload my video onto the YouTube. These guys are just another example. These ebook readers are another example of how personal technology changes over time. Certainly the Gutenberg technology, or the printed book, has been a marvelous invention. It's been with us for a long time, and it is a very, very convenient thing to have. But this device will hold 20,000 books, and there are other memories in the wind that will potentially put 2 million books on a form factor like this one of these days. Change is inevitable, and so for folks who are concerned about it, or who are scared, or perhaps scared's too harsh a word, go to a Sony store. Find somebody in the coffee shop that's reading with one of these things, or on a bus, and stop and ask them if you can talk to them about it. I have people coming up to me all the time, and I love to spend a few minutes. It actually takes about 10 minutes to walk someone through all the features of one of these things. The future is now when it comes to reading. We're seeing some really interesting changes in the electronic publishing world, where e-ink technology has allowed manufacturers to, like Sony or Amazon, and now there's a company in Mountain View called Plastic Logic that's about ready to release an 8x11 version of a reader with e-ink technology. The ability to hold as many books as you want, to interface wirelessly as we can with the Amazon, and the ability to have hundreds of thousands of millions of books online is just another example of the march of digital technology from the 20th into the 21st century. This is Wayne Martin. Thanks for watching.